Okay, Anja, part 2. I'm really excited to see you put together a crystal grid, but obviously to help the people who are viewing this, can we start with the absolute basics? What do you create one of?
Right. Ideally it's a flat surface,
Okay.
and also a place where the grid will not be disturbed. So ideally we may have a little table like this one, or you have these bases, because you can move a base once you have placed the crystals.
And do the designs make a difference?
Yes, the designs do make a difference. These are coming down to the sacred geometry, which every life is created from.
But they don't have to have a design?
They don't have to have a design. No, they can be plain. You can even do it on the floor, you can do it in a garden, but when you do set a grid up, you cannot disturb the grid.
Okay.
So if you happen to have cats who like to explore and they are moving the crystals around, you will have to recharge.
Okay.
That's the only thing.
So it disturbs the energy?
It disturbs the energy, and you're going to have to recharge.
Okay.
So it's not the end of the world. So you basically charge it for 5 minutes and everything will be fine.
Okay. And they're quite small, those bases.
Yes.
So they could literally just use a piece of paper or a piece of card if
A
they
piece
haven't
of
got
card
anything.
would be better.
Piece of card would be better.
Like cardboard, it has to be something sturdy.
Or a tray you mentioned, didn't you? Yeah.
A tea tray, you can use a tea tray, because that one you can actually lift it and move it into a shelf. You can put it in the bookshelf, creating it straight onto the shelf itself.
Okay. Yeah.
I like to use like a cake plate. It's like a mirror glass plate.
Oh, I know, yeah.
You can have for like a cake decorating, for example. They're fairly inexpensive. They look nice when you place the crystals on it. It amplifies, I believe, the energy of the crystals. But I also like it looks pretty. So for me, it's all about how it looks.
Yeah, because if it's going to be around the house for a while, then if it looks pretty, then that obviously adds to it, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody's got their base. That would be the first thing. What about crystals? So if they're all going to rush off now and grab the crystals out the drawers that they've got that might be gathering dust. Do they have to have, how many crystals do they need to find, and what crystals do they need to find?
Well, that's just a good point. Whenever you're going to work with crystals, you need to make sure they are clean.
Okay.
Cleansed. There are different ways in how you can do this. So you're running through your house, grabbing a crystal here and raiding the kiddies' treasure box of crystals, whatever. They need to be cleansed. That is the first thing you need to do with any crystal. You go in a shop and buy a crystal, you come home with a crystal cleansing. Why do we do this? The cleansing, a crystal will absorb energy. It will absorb the vibration. And here it gets a little bit complicated with the ethics. Is that the right word? How they have been mined, how the miners have been treated, the transportation. Now this is a tumbled crystal, so it went through a drum with sand to actually make it smooth. And then of course the packaging, the shipping.
So its whole journey is impregnated within the crystal itself.
So by cleansing the crystal, you are bringing the crystal back to its original vibration and frequency.
So that balanced Reiki space that we would talk about a lot. Yeah.
When I cleanse my crystals, I do the cleansing first, and then I use the gratitude prayer, just something from the heart which feels right for me to say how grateful I am to be able to have these crystals. Yeah, and also having the money to pay for them as well. They are actually quite expensive nowadays compared to, say, 20 years ago when I first started.
Yeah.
So you have done your cleansing.
So literally we're talking about just put it between your hands, set your intention to clear it.
Yeah, no, water.
No water.
You can use water on all quartz crystals, amethyst, rose quartz, clear quartz, citron, fluorite, there's fluorite crystal there, selenite and kyanite do not want to be touched by water. For people who have done Reiki, who use the Reiki energy,
Yeah.
that's the
How
easiest.
how long would you say you need to sit with a crystal to clear it?
Normally about 10-15 minutes.
And could you do them all together, or would you have to do them individually in an ideal world?
In an ideal world, you will do them separate.
Okay.
Now, if you are like me and you're buying a bunch, and I say I have 4 of the same, I do the 4 together. Then you come to the programming of a crystal, which means giving the crystal a specific job. And mine are programmed to be used in healing with love and light only.
Okay.
When you do like a crystal grid for healing, these points have been programmed for distant healing, so they will not be used for anything else but the healing.
Okay.
So I cannot use them for attracting a romantic partner or abundance, a new job, because they're not programmed to do that.
But you could clear them and
You can
reprogram.
clear them and reprogram them.
Excellent. Excellent.
Crystals, yes, I mean size does matter, but these little ones, these little points, they're actually big enough. Do not need to be this chunky and big. So small ones will do the job as well. And these generators, to my knowledge, they're only coming in this size.
Okay.
I haven't found any bigger ones. Maybe they are available now.
Now that would be quite expensive to buy.
It
So
will
what
be.
were the other things you said you could use as a generator?
So this would be the generator in itself, and I have used this as a master or a focus crystal. Here is another pyramid, which is a fluorite one.
Okay. Because it's got the 4
But-
points on the base, hasn't it, which you mentioned
Yeah.
is helpful.
We want four sides in these pyramids. One, it has a proper base to stand on, and 4 sides, for me 4 sides is also symbolizing the directions,
Right. Okay.
like your east, south, west and north, and it's also the elements of water, air, fire, earth, spirit.
Okay.
And pyramids, if you really look at it, if you have 2, you have a Merkaba, which is a different thing.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Merkabas today.
But if somebody hasn't got any of those, they've just got a bag of
Yeah,
ordinary
tumbled
tumblestones.
stones. We move these points away for now. And ideally you have maybe 4, 6 or 8. Again, it depends how much.
I'm going to just disappear now, just
Sorry.
briefly.
Yeah. So we have our master crystal or a focus crystal in the middle. We have our piece of paper. We've been writing the name. Just so. And then you place your prepared crystals. I have 6. I use 6 today. Again, you use your intuition where you want to place them. I felt I wanted to go that way, but you could go the other way. That's fine. When you work with crystals, everything comes down to energy, down to your intuition, what feels right and what doesn't. And now you would actually start charging the grid up. You can use your finger, you can use a little wand.
Can't see that.
You can't see that. Where do I need to go? Right. And you can also use a different fanciful one, but it doesn't need to be a wand. Or you have a spare point. As long as something is pointing to focus the energy. And by charging it up, first of all, you then need to center yourself and connect with the Reiki energy. And I intend this Reiki Crystal Grid to send healing to whoever is there on the piece of paper. My mother, for example. And I would then visualize the energy, the Reiki energy, traveling down from my heart and out of my finger. And then you start either left or right. Again, whatever feels right for you, and you go around to each crystal. And you can say out loud or in your mind that this Reiki grid is to send healing to my mother. And then you go into the middle at some point, connecting to the middle, and you're going back. You go to the next one, to the middle, and back again. But again, you use your intuition in how you want to connect these crystals. And these charging a crystal grid, you will do it with any grid. And what's very important when you do set up a grid is the intent. That this is being used for the highest and greatest good. For my mother, for example. And it can be anybody who has requested to have healing. And you can just sit like this for a couple of minutes and just visualize that person inside the grid. And then you have to trust that this grid is doing its job. The grid can stay in place for a couple of days, or you want to maybe use the phases of the moon as a guideline that, I need to redo the grid after 28 days, which is the circle of the moon, as a reminder. And you can also use Reiki every day just for a couple of moments. You can also draw the symbols over the grid. So if you are attuned to the Reiki energy, you can use all the symbols over the grid. If you do want to use a grid to send healing, you just send your intent that this healing energy is going to where it needs to go, but for the highest and greatest good for the other person. And that is a very basic grid size, really doesn't matter.
Thank you for that, Anja. And how often do you have to charge the grid?
Ideally, maybe just every other day for 5 minutes, or maybe once a week. So again, it depends how sensitive you are to energy and how much energy is needed. It sounds very complicated. It isn't. Ultimately, the Reiki energy will do what needs to be done. You cannot overcharge or undercharge, especially when we are asking for the highest and greatest good.
Yeah.
That way it is a bit like the law of grace. You're not going against somebody's free will.
Yeah.
We do not know that person's soul contract. We don't know any of it because it's none of our business.
Yeah.
Most people do not know their own contracts, never mind anybody else's.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the highest and greatest good under the law of grace, it's making sure that it doesn't rebound back on you.
Okay.
Peace of mind.
And when you're doing the charging, I saw that obviously you went round several times. Is there a number of times you have to go round to charge? Is there a certain amount of time you need to sit then and give Reiki to the board to start it off? Or
Again, it's very much into your own intuition. You can I can feel it. How many times do I need to go round?
okay,
Because I can feel the energy building up.
okay. So that's what's happening as you
That
do
is
it.
what's happening as you do it. When you are in the flow of energy, you know how it feels when you channel energy, and you're going round. You know it when
it's ready.
It's enough. Yeah,
So when it feels enough, it's enough.
it is
Just
enough.
like with
yeah.
Reiki hand positions, when you just feel it's ready to move on, you just
Yeah.
move on. It's not something you think about. It just feels the natural
Yeah.
thing to do. So there's no right or wrong really. It's really all about setting that intention,
Absolutely.
knowing that those crystals have been programmed,
Yeah, the programming, the
knowing
intent.
who you're actually sending that energy to, and then charge it up. And you can just leave it there and come back every day or every other day or every few
Yeah.
days, and then the same process. We just go in and either using the finger or a wand, we set our intention again and then recharge,
Yeah,
and then it's set for another day or a couple of days.
that's right. I mean, if you really struggle with sensing the energy, then just put a timer on.
You just do it a few times.
Just doing it, say, for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's easy for me to talk about energy because I can feel it, but I also remember when I didn't feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is perhaps where these guidelines are coming in. You're doing it for 10 times, you're doing it for 3 days, you're doing it for half an hour. Because for me it was a journey to reach this point, to be so sensitive to energy.
Yeah. That's really helpful, Anja, and what I love about it is you've made it feel like it's achievable, that you haven't got to buy a load of expensive stuff to be able to start to use a Reiki Crystal Grid. And as with all Reiki, it is a case of experiment, isn't it, Anja?
Yeah.
Because different things will work for different people in different ways. So thank you very much for your time today. It's very, very helpful, and hopefully people will have a go and enjoy working with crystals in a different way. So thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.